Hi, stock investors. JJ here. Welcome back. Well, Aswath Damodaran, the Dean of Valuation's got some thoughts on Nvidia earnings, which have just been. Let's see what he's got to say, and I'll react to it.
Shares of Nvidia are trading lower after reporting a beat for the third quarter. But joining us now is Aswath Damodaran. He is a professor of finance, and he's known as the Dean of Valuation at the NYU Stern School of Business. He is also an Nvidia shareholder. Professor, it's great to have you on. Do want to get your initial reaction to these results and what it means for the valuation of Nvidia, even as revenue has almost doubled since a year ago.
That's a scary thought, right? I mean, you deliver a 94% growth in revenue, 75% gross margins, 62% operating margin. That's an amazing company. And you lose 4% of your market value. It tells you how much the expectations game on Nvidia has been ramped up.
He's talking about how the stock price went down there immediately after earnings. It was after market, but it went down around 4%. It's since recovered somewhat, but it did immediately go down, even with the amazing earnings and beating on expectations.
They don't just have to beat analyst estimates. They got to beat them by 10%. Yeah. And I think investors are also increasingly focused on the guidance that NVIDIA is offering. And the negative reaction, I think, is coming from the sobering of that guidance, which is, I think NVIDIA is trying to bring investors down for a soft landing, bringing expectations down. But it's going to be painful. Every earnings report, you're going to see more of this phenomenon play out, them beating the numbers, but still seeing the stock price go down.
Wow. So, yes, he thinks that they're trying to bring it in for a soft landing, just like the economy, I guess. But he still thinks it's going to be painful, meaning that each quarter from now, because it's had such a great past year or more, beating every time, stock rocketing, it's going to be harder and harder to do that, to beat the raised expectations, the incredible expectations. How long can they go on? They're already the world's biggest company, $3.5 trillion. How can they keep beating by so much? And the expectations really didn't live up to it here. It hasn't popped a lot. How much can it go on?
How much of this phenomenon around Nvidia stock is company specific with investors versus a reflection of more risk on appetite in the market, more liquidity coming into the market, and investors just being more excited about big growth stories in general?
It's not an or, it's both. The fact that investors are feeling good about stocks, that equity risk premiums are down, that they feel that they can buy stocks at a higher price is helping. But I think a great deal of this is company specific. I mean, you had $2.2 trillion in market cap over the course of a year. That's mind blowing in terms of the additional market cap created. I do think, though, that there's a disconnect emerging here between what companies are spending on the architecture of AI, and I think your previous guest mentioned it, and the revenues you're actually generating from AI products and services. And that's going to increasingly come into focus in future quarters.
So, and what he's referring to there is their customers, the mega caps, the mega techs have been buying hand over fist NVIDIA chips and XAI to even Elon Musk, and countries also starting to get into it. But how much can it grow bigger? There has been a huge expenditure on these chips for AI and exuberance. We're getting into that. He hinted at that with the market being exuberant because of the AI, but talking company specific here, how long can it go on? We're going to get some pushback here. Let's see what he's got to say.
Aswath, here's my pushback on this, because, it's my job. Somebody's got to. This reminds me in a way of the argument against buying Apple in 2018. Oh, well, there's Samsung out there. Well, how many more people can you sell a phone this expensive? Margins have to eventually come down. But it's up something like 4x, above the high levels of that year. At what point can you, and I mean you specifically, buy a stock like Nvidia after it's been on the run that it's been on, under the idea that it's just so unique, it can go much higher still?
Okay, just before he answers here, let's look at this graph they got on the screen. Nvidia gross margin. So since Q2 2024, it was 70%. It's been going up to 74, 76, 78.4 it peaked at, and it's coming down 75, 74.6. So gross margin coming down, but those margins have just been incredible. That is, for any company, that's incredible margins. And for a predominantly hardware company, I mean, they do have software increasingly, but that's an incredible margin that they've had, just incredible growth, incredible margins. It's a lot to live up to for any company.
No, I think that it is unique. It is in a market where it controls the market. The problem is the market itself might be hitting a stress point, because if you don't get ultimately, NVIDIA's revenues are cost to some other company. So those costs have to be covered with products and services that those companies sell. And right now, at least from what I'm hearing from those companies, delivering on AI products and services is turning out to be more difficult than they thought. And that's going to eventually have to show up in them buying fewer chips.
Buying fewer chips, that's right. The customers buying these chips, just hundreds of billions of dollars they've been buying. And we can see here this graph about revenue from Q2 to 2024, 13.5 billion, all the way up to 35.1 billion in the latest quarter. That's a huge move, a huge move. If you're liking this episode so far, do remember to smash that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. I would appreciate that too. And do subscribe, relatively new channel here. We're just getting going on this channel. I do have another channel, but do subscribe to this one if you want to get more of this kind of content in the future.
My question, though, was what would it take? What kinds of evidence in the market would it take for you to believe, despite all of that and the idea that there are cheaper AI plays out there, this one is so special, even though it looks expensive based on what's expected in the next couple quarters, that it's still worth buying, even though you bought so much of it when it was a lot cheaper?
I think at this price, if you're buying, you're expecting the AI chip product and service market to be much bigger than people are anticipating it to be. And you got to be clear that that's what you're buying based on. I mean, even if you give NVIDIA dominance of the AI chip market, which I think they have right now, and maintaining these sky-high margins, you can't get to 144 without something additional happening. So it's almost like you're buying into another market out there that NVIDIA can find and dominate. And that's a tough call.
That's a good point here. Where can they go to get much more growth from here? I mentioned countries being interested in buying, not just companies. We've got the mega caps buying. Are there companies lined up behind them wanting to get, in on these chips? But he's saying, where's the market? Where's extra markets? Because it's gone so high, say $3.5 trillion. How does it get to $7 trillion? Where are the markets for that? Or is it going to be cyclical like this industry has? Is it going to slow down? He said that, they're wanting to bring investors in for a soft landing, not be too brutal about it. If they come in one quarter with substantially less revenue, for instance, you can imagine what might happen to the stock.
Do you think this speaks to the conversation we're having right now, all the hype we've seen going into AI? Is this helping to propel this broader rotation that we're seeing into other parts of the market, like cyclicals, like small caps? Keep talking about it as a Trump trade, but is it also just the fact that the AI trade needs to take a breather?
I think it does have to take a pause, because I think we've overreached on the AI trade. Because I think we still need to see whether it can be monetized. I see AI on almost everything I buy now. I'm not paying for any of the stuff that I'm getting as free AI. The test will be when, my email starts charging me $3 extra per month to use an AI feature. Am I willing to pay those extra $3? That's going to be the test for the AI product and service market, is whether people are willing to pay. And for that to happen, AI's got to do something you can't do right now that is unique and special.
So that's a good point. We are getting a lot for free from AI at the moment. We can try these different things, whether it's Google or I'm using Perplexity, the free version, which is pretty incredible if you haven't used that. And there are these different services in ChatGPT, even the free version. So we're not willing to pay. You can pay $20 a month, but most people aren't paying for that. So where are they going to get the return on investment of that? These big companies that are buying from Nvidia remains to be seen. Okay, let's have a quick look at the Nvidia stock price movement over the past few days and months. Okay, here we are in finchat.io, which I use, and there's a link in the description for a 15% discount if you want to, but we can see the share price here change over the past 5 days. It's still up, so after earnings, it hasn't gone down from there, so soft landing indeed. But over the past month, if we go to that 1.7% up over the past month, but of course we go back year to date, we can see it's up 203%. Can they keep beating earnings expectations and go up? And if we go back over 3 years, we can see up 356%. Pretty amazing. And if we look at some of these numbers here, the fundamentals, so the PE is currently at 57 and the forward PE there 37.4. So it's not huge compared to some of them. If you look at Palantir, for instance, companies like that, we're at 50 times sales, not earnings. So it's not looking incredibly expensive compared to those, and it's got the earnings to back it up. Nvidia, can it go on? Let me know what you think. You can see the numbers here. And again, if you want to use FinChat here, which does have an AI component here, see a prompt copilot, which is pretty good. You can use a free version of this or subscribe to have that 15% off, which will be in the description, the link to that. And thanks for watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.